Are you thinking about buying a hybrid or even a battery electric vehicle just so you don't have to go to the gas station? You don't have to spend, well, it depends on where you live, but you don't have to spend money on gas. No one likes paying for gas on their cars. And if you get this hybrid or EV, you won't be spending nearly as much in taxes. And this is where the government is now thinking about saying, hey, oh, you're not filling up your car nearly as often. You're not spending, nearly as much on tax on your gas for your EV or hybrid. Well, how about we tax you for owning a hybrid, because you can't get away from taxes. And how about this? If you own an EV, they're going to even fine you more, all right, than what you would on a hybrid. Guys, if you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I talk about car news every single day. I also review cars. A CX-30 Turbo just pulled up to my driveway. It'll be good to revisit that vehicle for review. I think I'm getting a Jeep Willys today. Called it a Willys. What you talking about, Willys? I'm getting that later today as well for review this week, so stay tuned for the good old Willys. We have other news to also catch up on. So if you guys like car content, make sure you're subscribed here. Try to update you guys on a daily when it comes to news in the industry. We'll talk about how Audi needs to move production to the United States in order to avoid tariffs. We'll talk about the E-Rev also coming, extended range electric vehicle coming to Genesis sooner than I was thinking. So guys, grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in. And if you appreciate this content, maybe not the news of this content and that you would be getting fined by the government for owning a hybrid, but if you appreciate the content, I would appreciate a like button click. We're over at Consumer Reports. Punitive clean vehicle tax would harm consumers and seniors, but won't solve road funding shortfalls. But hybrids, since they don't use as much gas, they're going to get hit with a $100 yearly fee or tax. EVs, which use zero gasoline, would be hit with a yearly $250. And guys, these numbers would be adjusted for inflation. And so it's like an HOA. They can just increase them whenever they want. Let's hop onto the graphs. All right. EVs, flat rate of $250 per year. I can tell you what, if EVs got hit with this, the adoption rate would flatline, if not go negative. We could see negative growth in EVs. People don't want to pay extra fees for, like, the whole point of an EV for me is like lower maintenance and I wouldn't have to buy gas. All right. Now, if I'm getting hit with a $250 fee, then it just makes me angry and it makes me not want to buy an EV. Same thing with a hybrid. Like $100, guys, think about this. $100. What could $100 in gas buy you? $100 divided by 3, okay, dollars per gallon. That's right, 33 gallons. Times, let's say you're getting 40 miles per gallon. Guys, that's 1,300 miles worth of gas cost, which is $100, assuming you're getting 40 miles per gallon. It's 1,300 miles of traveling that is getting taken from your wallet. That is disgusting, all right? Currently, an average hybrid SUV that gets 39 miles per gallon only pays $52. Here's the thing. The average new vehicle is only 28 miles per gallon would only be $73. Why don't they just, if they're going to do this, right? Why wouldn't they just make it base number here, all right, to compete with what a 28 mile per gallon vehicle currently does? So they're taxing a hybrid more than a vehicle that gets 19 miles per gallon. In fact, they're probably taxing a hybrid like it's closer to 10 miles per gallon just looking at this. That is disgusting. And an EV, well, they're just taxing it like you're getting 5 miles per gallon. All right. These are just estimates, but it's absurd. All right. Moving on to the next list. Now, seniors would be taxed differently, and they would be getting hit harder if they owned a hybrid or EV, because in theory, seniors don't drive as much per year, and so their yearly taxes are lower, but they're saying, nah, it's still going to be a flat rate even for senior drivers. I don't know. It just seems strange and a cash grab, and I understand that this would raise federal revenues more than $38 billion over the next 10 years, which will then be deposited into the HTF, the Highway Transfer Fund. I'm sure most of you don't agree with this tax. It seems awfully unfair, and it punishes people who want to just have a different car technology for whatever reason. It punishes them. All right. I understand that the government wants to make money off of gasoline, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And there's no world that I live in where a hybrid or an EV should be taxed more than a gas guzzling truck. All right. I think you guys would, most of you guys would agree with that. Let's move on. Audi needs to diversify their production. You know, they make their cash cow, their Q5 down in Mexico. They import that into the United States in high volumes. Well, that's already being hit with 25% import tariff now. Then you have all their German-made vehicles or other vehicles made throughout Europe. They're not all made in Germany, Audi, right? So Audi's like, okay, well, we got to move production stateside. So they're looking at 3 different locations to avoid these tariffs. All right, the Q4 e-tron or its successor would be built at Volkswagen's plant in Chattanooga. That's where they build the ID4, which is on the same MEB platform. The Q8 e-tron, mid-size electric crossover, Audi has planned to build in Mexico. Well, that might not happen anymore, but this could be going to Scout's plant. The Scout Harvester, the Scout pickup truck and SUVs that have either fully battery electric or range extenders in it. So that could be going, you know, the Q8 could be going to Columbia, South Carolina. Audi is searching for a third location to build the Q6 e-tron. Check out my review on it. I had the SQ6. It's fast. It's just it was like over 80,000, and I actually have a more enjoyable experience in like a dual motor Ioniq 5, for example. And in fact, I could save 20, like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 grand depending, and get an Ioniq 5N over the SQ6. I had a much more fun in the Ioniq 5N over the SQ6, and it costs way less money. All right. Anyways, yeah, here's what it looks like. It's kind of snoozy looking. It's over designed in the front, and the Volkswagen EVs look better. They remind us that other German automakers want to increase U.S. production. Mercedes-Benz is going to be building the GLC at Tuscaloosa, Alabama plant in 2027. Lastly, the Genesis GV70 E-Rev. I love this diagram over at KCB Korean Car Blog. This GV70 E-Rev's coming at the end of 2026. All right, so the engine will never power the wheels to my knowledge on this. It'll just be a generator. It could be a 1.6. It could be a 2.5. I don't know. Probably a 1.6. A 2.5 as just a generator is huge. All right. But anyways, you have a big battery pack, not quite as big as a fully electric GV70, but they're estimating 560 miles of range, assuming you have your battery and gas topped off. And it would be fully electrically driven. You have a big motor up front, and you have a big motor in the back, all right, with the engine using MG1 for power generation when needed. All right, of course, you can drive it in fully electric mode, assuming you have charge on your battery. Now, this will also, in theory, be coming to the Santa Fe, I believe, around the same time. And that will be incredible. To have a Santa Fe with this sort of flexibility and this sort of performance would be amazing. And to see it in the best-selling Genesis model, the GV70 is going to be great as well. Watch out my reviews on the GV70s that I've tested. It's one of the best EVs I've driven. It's still just compromised as a GV70 in the back seat. It's really small back there. I just reviewed the GV80 twin-turbo V6. I freaking love that vehicle. It made my S-Class, S tier of vehicles so far that I've made I've reviewed in 2025 so far. I keep saying 2026 because this vehicle is coming in 2026. All right, I'll see you guys vented out down below on, your hybrids potentially getting taxed a flat rate way more than a gas guzzler, and your EVs getting taxed a flat rate way more than a gas guzzler. It's just, it's pretty disgusting. I feel like the politicians who came up with this absolutely hate any form of electric vehicle. And maybe you guys might be saying, hey, the ones who are proposing this have money involved in big oil, and I wouldn't dispute that, or they're being paid off by big oil. I wouldn't dispute that either, because this is outrageous, in my opinion. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and peace.